sign up for that. Same with a lot of these events. So that'll be a good thing if you need to get some things and you don't have transportation. But Let's Dance ISU. This is a dance party that we put on, sponsored by the International Programs Office. You can mingle with each other and with domestic students, and just a time to get to know other people, have a little fun. We'll have DJ music, that sort of thing. The Yellowstone National Park trip is very fun. If you, this is one of the world destinations, one of the top destinations in the world for visiting. So that is Friday, August 23rd through Sunday, August 25th. Again, we meet in the Student Union parking lot, but there's this online sign up for that. Khalil, how many people do you think we've had sign up so far?
Probably around 10 right now.
10?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have 10 more.
So 10 more slots, so those will fill out very quickly. So make sure you, again, check your email, get that link to the form to sign up for that. Okay, that'll be a great trip. Again, we have the makeup orientation, so if you missed the immigration portion of this orientation, please come on the 27th. Last day to make changes to your schedule is Friday, August 3rd. So that's an important date to remember. That's the last time you're going to be able to make any changes to your schedule. And so use these next 2 weeks to figure out what classes are working for you and what might not work. If you need to make changes, do it before the 30th. We have a larger Salt Lake shopping trip. That's so that you can go to a bigger city and get some whatever additional things you want to purchase down in Salt Lake City. So that's about a 2.5-hour drive, 3-hour drive, somewhere in there. From here, we'll provide free transportation. It doesn't cost you anything to ride with us down to Salt Lake. Every semester we have what we call coffee and conversation events. And again, these are sponsored, co-sponsored by IPO and other departments throughout campus. It's an opportunity for us to mingle with you and in a less formal atmosphere and be able to answer questions for you. And so we have those, we'll have several of these throughout the semester. The first one is on October 4th, right? Okay, so that's what that is. We always have an international night once a year. International night will be in the spring semester. That's an opportunity for international students to come together and present their culture through food and performances and a flag show and all kinds of different things. It's for you to showcase your culture to the Pocatello community. And so it's usually a very large event. We have 500 to 700 people coming to that. It'll be really a lot of fun. So I want to encourage you to watch out for that event coming into spring. All right. Any questions up to this point? Good to go? All right. So our first presenter is Cheryl Yee from the Counseling and Testing Center, and she's here to talk about navigating cultural differences. So please welcome.
Hi everyone. I am really pleased to get to be here with you all. I've met several of you. I'm going to talk about culture shock, really. Does anyone know what the term culture shock means? Any thoughts on what it might mean? Are we all feeling really shy? Well, I guess I will be explaining to you during this, so you don't have to answer, right? I'm going to first talk about CATS, which is the Counseling and Testing Service. I am from there. I am a social worker, and my title is case manager. We offer free and confidential counseling to all students at ISU, so there's no cost for that. We talk with students about all sorts of things. I know some people are like, I don't want to go to a counseling center because maybe it is for people who have like serious mental health issues. And I will say sometimes people have some serious mental health issues, but most students come in there because they are adjusting to coming to school. They are having adjustment issues in relationships, like having problems in relationships. There's lots of very normal reasons why people come into the counseling center. So sometimes people are struggling with depression or anxiety, or talking to their professors. Some people will come in and say, I'm having trouble talking to my professor, and they can practice and then go and have the conversation they need to have with their professor. If they're worried about whatever. So just know that there's lots of reasons people come into the counseling center, and it's free and confidential, so no one knows that you're coming in there. It is not something that shows up on your transcripts or anything of that nature. But that's available to all students. The counseling center also does all the testing, so some of you may have done some testing, like testing for math placement, or also entrance exams to get into grad school and things like that too. That is the place. It's over in Gravely Hall, which is just north of the sub on the quad. If you wanted to start counseling services, you can come in, just walk in and fill out some forms, let people know why you want to come in and see a counselor. You can also just call. Our phone number will be shown at the end of this, but that phone number you can just call to either schedule an intake or just schedule a single session, like I just need to bounce something off somebody and just talk something through. So we have individual counseling, where you meet one-on-one with a counselor or psychologist. There's group counseling, where we have groups. Some that just focus on anxiety. If someone's struggling with some anxiety, we have somewhere it's just a process group to talk with other people. We have couples counseling, consultation. We have a single session program, so that's one of the things I mentioned. This is brand new this year, where you can just, it's over in Reed Gym, over in the rec center, and you can meet with someone just to say, I just need to talk about this one problem, like I'm thinking about dropping this class, or I'm thinking that, like if I'm having some struggles in some area of my life, I just want to talk this through with a professional or with just someone who can listen. And we also brand new have something called CAPS Connections, which are support groups. And one of them is specifically for international students, so you can get together with other international students and talk about what's going on. And it's just a place to make new friendships and talk about things that are just geared more towards you as an international student. We also offer biofeedback. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the term biofeedback, but it is basically looking at how your body is responding to the stress that's going on around you. So sometimes when people have stress, their thoughts start racing, right? And sometimes you get really anxious in your stomach or your throat or things like that. And so this will kind of look at those symptoms and help you to use breathing to calm down. And basically you're kind of hooked up to a computer that's looking at your heart rate. And you can see that as you are just using some breathing to calm down, that all of those symptoms can kind of get much less. And so it's teaching you really how to use some breathing to help calm yourself down. It's useful for stress. Some people get stressed with tests and things and presentations and talking in front of all of you. Really got that. But I'm just saying, like, when there's stress, like, there's things that you can do to help manage that just by breathing. And the biofeedback teaches you that, because you'll see on the screen, like, oh, when I'm breathing, deep and slow, I can actually see that my stress is getting less. I feel less stressed, and I can see on the screen what it's doing with my body. So I want everyone, you guys have all been sitting and eating with each other. I want everyone to get up right now, and I want you to change and sit with different people that you don't know and that you have not met. Can everyone get up? I want everyone just to switch. And I want you guys asking each other, where are you from? If they've been to Pocatello or the United States before, how long you've been here. I know maybe it's just a few days. But is Pocatello similar or different? Everyone's get to a different table with different people. I don't want one table just to all go to another table together. I want you all to switch. And you're going to talk to one another.
Where are you from? Your first time?
It's kind of like EV.
Yeah, I've been to New York and Boston.
You've already met? Have you met them?
Hi. Nice to meet you. I'm Carla. Yeah. Jiffy. What's your name?
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, we do. Americans. Oh, you got just got here, so. Oh, is it? That's too long. It's going to be worth it.
In Spain, I study tourism.
Please ask each other about what differences you have seen here that are things that are different from home.
We're drinking each.
Yeah. And you?
That's 16.
Really?
What?
Yeah, this year is different.
That is.
Very hard work.
Tiger like a real tiger. So you got one. You come straight from Spain. Spain or you here for a while?
No, I came in Spain. Yeah, because I'm on exchange student.
1 year. Nice.
Alright. Freshman.
With them for the I know. I was in Meridian campus. So I'm not from Pocatello. I was actually. And then one in Jackie and I have our degree in marketing. Everyone's saying I'm very native. Yeah, they were like. They're like, if you don't come here, we'll have problems. You as well need to say
Okay, let's go ahead and
have a There's 3.5 hour. Yes.
you guys can head back to your seats. You don't have to sit in your same seats. You can sit with me first.
How long did you
Wait, you here for a year?
5 years?
Any party?
What is that?
Come on. Korean people, I know they can drink.
And is anyone exchanging phone numbers and making friends, getting connected? Please feel free to do that.
Yes. I actually got, I was from Oregon State, I had my party my freshman year, I was 19. I was got the right message, you can Like I do hours.
Have you ever been to Strange?
Actually, Nico.
What was your name?
People find that
Oh my god,
they share any differences that they have noticed here.
everything was great.
Every gym is different.
Yeah.
Everyone, hold on. We're like,
where from is more concentrated with people and population, but here
you come from a big city.
yeah. Specifically middle of nowhere.
And so I come from Phoenix, Arizona, and moved here 3 years ago. And that is a population of about 4 million in the greater Phoenix area. And coming here was a big change for me. And I told people, there's like a really old TV show that there's like a city called Mayberry, that's a really small town. And I would tell people here, this is like Mayberry. And some people would be offended. They're like, we're not a small place like Mayberry. Is this city much smaller than your hometown? Yes. And I want to tell you guys, so Idaho is a very spread out state, and Pocatello is one of the larger cities in this state. And so there are students, domestic students that come here that come from a town of like 200 people, and this is the big city for them. Does that seem strange? So everyone comes from a very different experience, and the perspective can be so different, just from where you have come from coming here. And while you might think this is a very small city, for some people it's a huge city. And so it's all very relative. Is any perception right or wrong?
All right.
They're all right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's one thing I want to kind of bring up, that we all come with a different perspective, and we all actually really need each other's perspective. Because our vision is not really necessarily the whole picture, and it's great. That's why I love having you all here, is because we need other people's perspective to round out our own understanding of the world, really, and life. I'm glad you guys are here. So I'm going to be talking about culture shock and just navigating these differences of culture, like differences of perspective. And when we come to any new place, there are 4 phases we go through. And so the first period is typically a honeymoon phase. And I will tell you, that honeymoon phase can be very short, or it can be a good while. But there's always typically a honeymoon phase where you come in and everything is amazing. It's bright and shining, and actually it's summer, so it's warm, and there's so many good things. It's all different, it's all new. And I want you to know, like, things can seem very positive when you first get here. I've already met with students in the counseling center this week who got here last week, who are in tears because they are feeling very sad. And they aren't international students, they are domestics, they are students from the States, not from Idaho, but they are homesick. They they're like, this is not home, there are things that I miss. And I want you to know, like, those students are going through their own culture shock, even though they are from the States, because Idaho is different than the rest of the country as well. Every state has their own nuances. So the honeymoon phase can be very brief, or it can be extended for a period of time. But then a time comes for most that they are experiencing some level of culture shock. It might just be, I'm a little annoyed with how everything is not fitting the way I'm used to things going on. Okay? With culture shock, you're being confronted with differences all the time. I don't know if anyone's feeling that way already, but recognizing like, this is different. This is really uncomfortable, like, this is the way it went at home, and it's nothing like that now. Some of it might be, I don't know if you're coming from your parents' home where a lot was done for you, and now it's like I have to navigate learning new things that I haven't done before, on top of translating things in my head, and on top of learning new things, like in classes. It can be very exhausting. Has anyone felt any of that yet? Maybe no one wants to confess that. But just recognize that that is absolutely normal. Like, it is normal to come in and start having, like, and what seemed like, oh, it's really funny that they do it that way in the honeymoon phase, and now it's like, I really hate that they did it that way. That's not right. It's not the way it's supposed to be, and I have to keep rethinking how I'm going to handle this every time I go into this situation. It might just be, what the heck is Fahrenheit versus Celsius, right? Having to translate those things in your head can be annoying. It's like, I thought that it was going to be this cold today, and it's really cold, or it's really hot, because I'm not used to those differences. After feeling a great deal of shock, you start to negotiate. And again, that culture shock might be a very short phase, or it might be drawn out, okay? But negotiating it is learning how to adjust, like just changing some settings on your phone so that it's telling you the way the weather is, the way you want it to tell you, right? It might be just finding some balance in all of this. That, like, I know when I go into this classroom, it's going to be like this, when that's not the way it would have been back home. And then adaptation is when you actually reach a high level of, I'm really used to it this way, I kind of like it this way, and then I hate to tell you, but sometimes when you go back home, you might have some more culture shock because you're used to things being the way they are here, and then you go back home and it's like, I knew it was going to be different, but it's a little harder than I expected. But those are the 4 phases to go through this adjustment process. And it's all normal. Like, it's just the way we are. We are people of habit and routine. We get used to the way one thing is, and when it's very different, it can be kind of jarring. And sometimes it's enjoyable, and sometimes it's just annoying. But learning to adjust and get through that is kind of part of the process. Here's some different areas that we navigate being here. Friendships and relationships. We are, in America, people like boys and girls, males and females, spend lots of time as friends. In some cultures, there's a little more segregation, but it's just getting used to, like, people can just be friends and hang out. Relationships. In relationships, there's lots of things that might be kind of different, and sometimes there's consequences. Sexual relationships, both must be consenting, both must be of sound mind to consent, so drinking and sex. If someone is intoxicated, you cannot take advantage of them sexually, or you could actually be charged with a crime. Either way, so just there's those kinds of things to kind of navigate that may not be the same in your own country. How people dress is pretty casual here in Idaho. Y'all are dressed like true Idahoans right now. And what is fancy dress here might be different from fancy dress back home, because it might be more casual here, or you might have different kinds of dress that are really cool. I know that all the international events, the different clubs will have different events, and I love seeing the clothing from everywhere else, and it would be nice if we all could do all of that, but I'm glad you guys are here, and I like that you guys could have opportunities to share your cultural dress as well. Greetings. Some people have different ways of approaching other people and how close they stand. Like, do you like me standing really close to you? Do Did you see how she pulled away from me? Yeah, like we all have different things. People in tighter quarters tend to stand closer to each other because that's just kind of the norm. Has anyone been to New York? Been on a subway? How close are people on the subway? Really close. But typically, like people want to have like a little bit of space between them, and that may be used to that, or you may want more space. You're allowed to tell people, I need a little more space, step back a little bit. Or like if you come close and you see them pulling away, that means that they are wanting more space as you chat to each other. And just kind of paying attention to those physical cues can be really helpful to navigate. Schedules. Who wears a watch? Okay. Who pays attention to the time a lot? For some people, time is very relative. 9 o'clock might mean 9:30 is fine. Anyone know people like that? Anyone have friends like that? Even if like I'm an on-time person and my husband is not an on-time person. It's very relative to him. But there are things here like classes. If class starts at 9 a.m., your professor is really expecting you to be there at 9 a.m. And coming in at 9:30, even though there is some flexibility, some professors are going to struggle with that. And you may miss a whole lot of information because if 9 a.m. is 9 a.m. to them, like they're going to start and you're going to miss a whole lot. So paying attention to those schedules can be really important in the school setting in particular, or at work. If you get a job and you go to work and you like are there half an hour late, your employer might be like, that's not acceptable, you aren't going to work here anymore. So if you are not someone who comes from a culture or personally, because my husband is Chinese American, his system of understanding time is different than mine. We all have differences. And so, so just know, like, in some settings, it's really important to follow that schedule to the T. And then professors. You've all been in school before. Some students I've spoken to have had schools where they never really actually spoke to their teacher hardly at all. I don't know if you come from that, but here, like your professors are going to give you times, like here's times where you might meet them before class or after class and ask questions. I want you to feel comfortable to talk to them because your professors really care about having you be successful. They want to see you do well, and so they're going to want you to come in and talk to them if you're struggling with anything in the curriculum, or you just need to go and talk to them. And I want you to feel comfortable to do that. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, there are lots of people on this university campus who are here to support you and helping advocate for you if you're having that struggle. And they will help you practice to talk, or they will go with you to talk, or things like that as well. But I just want you to be able to talk with your professors and connect with them, because that is what they are expecting from you if you're having any struggle. Okay. So navigating all these kinds of different areas of how to interact, what the expectations are, is part of what culture shock. It just makes everything that can be overwhelming. So the symptoms of the culture shock are really having extreme homesickness, withdrawing from others, and sometimes, usually you're avoiding people who are not from your own culture, but sometimes people start avoiding even people in their own culture when they are feeling that withdrawn and that homesick and having that much struggle with this transition. Sometimes people feel a big conflict between their native culture and what they're experiencing here. Difficulty with concentration. These are the symptoms of I'm in some culture shock, I'm having a problem with transition. Feeling very angry and uncomfortable. Feeling very irritable and like really just losing your sense of humor. Like things that you would have laughed off before, you might realize like, I got really, really mad. I got really, really upset. I did not expect that. A lot of negativity, just feeling like I don't know why I ever came here, and really, Like, none of these people do anything right. And they can even affect your appetite, your sleep, like you may not sleep at night, you may not be hungry, or you might be eating a whole lot more, like that might become a coping mechanism. And you might even, a lot of international students, when they are having those struggles, feel like they're getting sick all the time. That's something that happens. It comes out in your body. And the way to cope as this is happening is actually to admit that it's going on. Like, this is a real thing, okay? It doesn't mean that you were weak, that you weren't ready. You may never be, if you think that being ready means that you would float through this and not have any thoughts about like this being hard, that would happen at any point. It doesn't mean that you're weak or not ready for it. It just means that this is a part of this transition. Make friends, develop relationships, have people to talk to. That is a key thing in going through this and being able to get through and come out onto the next stage of being able to adapt into the culture a little bit. Learn the rules. Like, there's nothing worse than doing something, driving on the wrong side of the road. I don't think they said anyone was here from the UK. I don't know, does anyone drive on the left side of the road in their home country? Okay. So if you're driving the right side of the road, no one wants a ticket. And like having a policeman pull you over because you're driving on the wrong side. Hello? They went away. That's okay. I can talk loud. Okay.
There's another mic.
Is that better? Is it on? Okay. So no one wants to get into trouble and be pulled over because you're driving on the wrong side of the road or you're doing something that is not correct. And if you're already feeling a little stressed in the new place, like that will add to your stress, right? So learning the rules of what's going on in the town and how things are done will help like, okay, I know how they do this now. I can do it that way, even though it's weird, right? And get involved. Is anyone going to be doing sports? I know a few of you. Excellent. That is one way that you're automatically involved because you're on one of the teams. But I want you to try and engage in lots of different clubs and activities that can be really helpful in this whole process for you too. Connecting with people who are domestic, you can say, why the heck do they keep saying that? Have you all been hearing the word yeet? Yeah, my son keeps saying the word yeet. He's a freshman here this year. And I'm like, anyway, he's like, I'm getting yeet out of here. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But if you don't know, and I'm an old lady, but so it's like, I'm like, what does that mean, and why are you saying that? You can ask them as well, like, I don't understand what you're trying to say, like, I don't understand that stuff. And people will tell you. It's okay to not know. Don't ever think that you're supposed to know something that you haven't been a part of. But if you have friends, like a diverse group of friends, you can ask more questions, and as you get connected, you're going to feel comfortable asking those questions. So developing relationships and getting connected with clubs and different things can be really helpful. Take care of yourself. Major piece. You may not feel hungry, like if you lose your appetite, but still eat. Your body still needs fuel, your brain still needs fuel, right? Get adequate sleep. The absolute basic need. Eat, sleep, drink water. This is the desert, you will dehydrate. Please drink water, okay? Travel. Who is gonna go to the Yellowstone trip? I want everyone who possibly can to go on that trip. It's an awesome trip. And you'll see lots of cool animals out in the wild. And you will all be in it together and you will make connections and friendships. Like, that's the key thing. Do something, if you're feeling homesick, do something. Listen to your favorite music from back home. Make a phone call to family or friends back home. Connect with other people. Like, sometimes when we are feeling upset, not well, we tend to isolate and pull back. And then you feel more lonely and you feel like even worse. And so do not stop trying to connect with other people. And totally be patient with yourself. Like, know, like, hey, anyone into math? Anyone taking math courses, business? Anyone ever do a math problem that's like 10 steps long? Has anyone done math that's like big math? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So, if you know that that you have 10 steps to do this problem, you know that you're not going to be done until you get to that 10th step. And you know that there are like 4 different aspects to going through this culture shock, right? Because there's that honeymoon phase, and then there's the shock phase, and then you're negotiating, and then you get to adjustment. So I want you to know, like, be patient. If you are in this stage of culture shock at some point, and you will have some of that. It might be big and it might be small and easy to navigate through. Just know, like, there's just more steps, and that you can be patient, and that you will get through those steps as well, because it will continue. We will continue the process. Okay. I want to bring up that ISU is one of the safest universities in the country. So sometimes when everything feels out of sorts and you're not used to anything, you don't feel safe. And I want you to know that this is actually one of the safest places. There's less violence, there's less theft, and all those kinds of things. And so this is a pretty great place to be. There are lots of support systems around here to help keep you safe and help you to feel safe. Culture. So we have something that's called the Rave Guardian app that you can put on your phone if you're not feeling safe. But it's good to have anytime, actually. But you can put it on your phone and you can say, like, I am walking across the campus. It's like 11 o'clock at night. Public safety follows that. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. With the Rave Guardian app, you can just turn it on and you can say, I'm going to be at rendezvous in 10 minutes. And they can track you and just see, like, okay, they got to rendezvous, and you would check in, I'm at rendezvous, I'm good. So there's different things that we have here to also continue to improve your safety if you want to choose to use them, okay? Cultural misunderstandings, those things happen.